Okay, so thinking about this possible postal strike in Canada, and you're worried about how it'll impact your banking. Good thinking to be proactive about it. We went through some articles and bank websites, so you don't have to,
Yeah,
like your cheat sheet for banking if the postal workers go on strike.
exactly. We'll cut through all the noise and like just give you the clear, actionable stuff so you can relax and keep things moving.
First, the big picture. We're looking at a potential nationwide strike by Canada Post workers.
Right.
Over 55,000 people. So anything you'd normally get in the mail from your bank, like checks or new card statements, all that's going to be on hold.
Yeah.
And who knows how long these negotiations are going to drag on.
Right. And it's different than just like, a few online banking hiccups. It's physical mail being totally frozen.
Right.
But the good news is that banks plan for disruptions like this. They've got systems in place.
Okay, let's unpack what that actually looks like.
Yeah.
Each bank has a slightly different game plan. We've got the scoop on the major players, RBC, Scotiabank, TD, CIBC, BMO, even Tangerine. And what's interesting is that while everyone's encouraging online and mobile banking, there's nuances to each bank's approach.
Exactly.
So for example, RBC.
Yeah. So you might find yourself using your RBC app more than usual.
Okay.
The good news is it has all the features you need. Bill payments, transfers. You can even deposit checks through the app.
Right.
And just remember, even if you're waiting on a check that's stuck in the mail, your payments are still due.
Oh, right.
But if you need a human touch, their branches and phone support are still there for you.
Okay, so Scotiabank.
They're holding checks too. But here's a helpful twist.
Mm.
If you need a card like ASIP, they'll deliver new credit cards and Scotialine cards to a branch for you to pick up.
And that could be a real lifesaver for some people.
For sure.
Okay, what about Tangerine?
Oh, Tangerine. They're actually using Purolator for some deliveries.
Oh, well.
Which is wild because Purolator publicly said they're not taking anything that was originally meant for Canada Post.
Tangerine going rogue.
Yeah. But good for their customers, though.
Yeah, exactly. It just shows you how each bank is kind of adapting in its own way.
Exactly. And it highlights how important it is to check with your specific bank for their procedures.
Right.
Don't just assume they'll all be the same.
Okay, let's talk TD.
All right, TD. They're letting you pick up credit cards at branches.
Okay.
But debit cards are a different story. You have to get those issued in person.
Oh, interesting.
So if your debit card's expiring soon, it might be worth popping into your branch now before the rush hits.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
What about CIBC?
CIBC gets some serious kudos for thinking ahead. They mailed out cards with a November expiry date back in October.
Wow.
Now that's proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And your existing card will keep working to the end of the month.
Okay.
New clients might experience some delays, but they can always check in with their branch to see what's up.
Makes sense. Okay, what about BMO? What are they doing for folks?
BMO is also big on the branch pickup option for both new and replacement debit cards. But what I appreciate is that they're really encouraging folks to reach out if their situation changes because of the strike.
Mm.
Like if you were relying on a check that's now stuck and it's creating a financial strain, don't hesitate to contact them.
That's good advice.
Yeah, just be proactive,
Yeah, reach out. It's kind of impressive how fast the banks have adjusted to all this. It seems like they really do have their customers' backs.
Yeah, absolutely. They've clearly put a lot of thought into this and have plans ready to minimize disruptions. This whole thing might even make some people realize just how much they can actually do with online and mobile banking these days.
It is really convenient. Paying bills, transfers, even depositing checks, it's all right there on your phone. Makes you wonder, is this like a little preview of how we'll all be banking in the future?
That's a really interesting question. I think this strike is definitely pushing people to try out digital banking who might not have before.
Right.
And, they might find it surprisingly easy and efficient.
Okay, but let's be real. Not everything can be done online. What about those times when you absolutely need to have that physical card in your hand? Or like you have a question that only a human can answer?
Yeah, for sure. That's where that branch network comes in. They're still a vital part of the banking system. And during this strike, they're even more important as hubs for picking up cards and getting face-to-face support.
Right.
So yeah, those branches are a reassuring presence for people who just prefer that personal touch.
That makes sense. But let's say you're feeling the impact of this strike. Like you were really counting on a check that's now stuck in the mail, and it's putting a strain on your finances. What can you do?
Communication is key. Don't just sit there and stress. Reach out to your bank, explain what's going on, and see what they can do.
Okay.
They might be able to work out a temporary payment arrangement or connect you with resources that can help.
So just ask for help.
Exactly.
It sounds like the banks are really stepping up to support their customers during this disruption. It's good to see.
It is. This whole situation has really shown how interconnected all our systems are.
Mm.
Like a postal strike can ripple out and touch so many different parts of our lives, including, our finances.
Wow.
So it's a good reminder to have backup plans and be adaptable, especially in a world where things can change so quickly.
That's a really good point about online banking security. But honestly, I still feel more secure knowing I can just walk into a branch if I need to.
I totally get that.
Mm.
It's about finding the right balance for you. But it's pretty clear that the banking landscape is evolving, and this postal strike might just like accelerate that evolution.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. The big picture of the postal strike, how banks are adapting, what you can do to stay on top of things, and even some tips for being financially resilient when those curveballs come your way.
Yeah, for sure. And what's been really fascinating is that we've seen how banks are leaning heavily on those digital solutions to keep things running smoothly.
Exactly. It's a good reminder for all of us to get a little bit more comfortable with online and mobile banking.
Right. And the security of those apps has come a long way too.
That's true. But like we said, some things just require that in-person touch. So it's good to know those branches are still there for us.
Absolutely. And it's also encouraging to see that banks are actively reaching out to customers and offering support to those who might be struggling because of the strike.
Okay, so here's something I'm curious about. Do you think this strike could actually speed up the shift towards a fully digital banking future?
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Mm.
This is forcing people to try it out who might never have considered it before.
Yeah.
And once they see how easy and convenient it can be, they might not want to go back.
So, like, this is the push that finally gets everyone on board with digital banking.
It could be a big step in that direction.
Hmm.
But there are still some roadblocks.
Yeah.
Some people, especially older generations, might be hesitant to go fully digital.
Yeah,
They might have concerns about security or just prefer the familiarity of traditional banking.
that's a good point. It's not just about pushing everyone towards the newest tech. It's about making sure those advancements actually work for everybody.
Exactly. But it's clear that the banking world is changing, and this strike might just be speeding things up a little.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about this postal strike and how it's impacting banking. What are the key things you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. Even though this postal strike might be a hassle, the banks are ready to help. Don't panic.
Yeah, they're encouraging everyone to get in touch, explore their digital options, and use those support services that they're offering.
Exactly. Another important point is that this whole thing highlights how important it is to be flexible and proactive with your finances.
Right.
Whether it's a postal strike or something else unexpected, having a plan B and being able to adjust to changes is crucial.
I totally agree. And part of that is staying informed.
Oh, for sure.
Things can change really quickly, so it's good to keep up with the latest news from your bank.
Yeah,
Check their website, follow their social media, or even sign up for alerts.
absolutely. And finally, I think this situation really showcases the power of technology. It's pretty amazing how banks have been able to just shift gears and offer these really seamless digital solutions.
Yeah.
It shows how far we've come with innovation and making financial services accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. And hey, maybe this is the event that pushes us even closer to a fully digital banking world. Definitely something to think about.
It is. It'll be really interesting to see how this all plays out in the coming months and years. One thing's for sure, the banking industry is constantly evolving, and we need to stay informed and adaptable to keep up.
Well said. So to wrap up this deep dive, remember, a little disruption isn't the end of the world.
All right.
You've got options, and the banks are there to support you. Stay curious and informed, and you'll be just fine.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.